Hello, friends, and welcome back. Our journey to becoming a better hard support player. It never really ends, but this video series does. So this is the last video I had planned for this guide. We're going to tie everything together as much as possible. We have covered a lot of basics, a lot on laning stage, right? We talked about considerations, mechanics, itemization, tips and tricks, all sorts of things about laning. And I don't have any regrets on that because if you had to focus on one thing as a hard support, I think it should be your laning stage. Right now, it's particularly important. Like, this meta right now is heavily focused on the laning stage. In the future, that might change. But even then, you never really want to come out of the laning stage behind. You always want to do well there. So I really think that's something important for hard supports to work on. But there is more to the game after that. And we touched on those. We talked about what towers do I take, Roshan considerations, high ground, all sorts of things. But we talked about each of them kind of individually and only lightly talked about going in between all of them. So that's what this video is trying to connect the dots on all of this. And it's hard because every game ends up differently. Even when you have the same draft 5 times in a row, who makes a mistake, who gets a bit lucky, maybe the lanes are played a little differently, people move heroes around differently. There's so much that could happen, and that makes every game a little different or extremely different. So creating a game plan for every single game isn't quite practical. But what we can do is have a general idea of what we want to do. And then based on the game, we are going to adjust to that. So that's what we're going to cover today. And then we'll go over a couple examples. And hopefully it'll help you guys start to piece together how to approach the game in a larger sense outside the laning stage. Here is my 3-step plan to the game. Very different than what I had before. But I think this is how I've been approaching the game mentally. And it has worked for me. So first, our laning stage. We had like 10 to 15 videos on this, so I'm not going to go really in depth on it, but you're just going to try to win your lane and do the best you can. Sometimes, like if you get counterpicked and they're really good at their heroes, you are not expected to win the lane. You're expected to have a bit of a rough time, and that's okay. If you can just do the best you can in a bad lane, I would consider that winning your lane relatively. Spectre gets out of a bristleback coddle lane and she has like decent farm. She's not top of the net worth, but she's like passable. Like that's kind of okay. That was kind of expected for that lane. Don't feel like you need to win every single lane. It's just not practical. Now, of course, sometimes you can do that. Like if you're a weak lane versus a strong lane, but the enemy, like they knew it was a counter pick, so they did it, but they don't really know the hero, but you know your heroes well, you can come out ahead on that because you're very comfortable with your hero. You have good fundamentals, and they're like awkward on their new hero, so they're kind of forgetting some of their basics. You can end up killing them, getting really far ahead. I would say those games are not the norm, but it's certainly possible. And so when you can just win lanes you're supposed to, win lanes that are kind of contested and can go either way, and occasionally win lanes that you aren't supposed to, like that's just setting yourself up very well. So I will leave it at that because, again, we already talked a lot about it. But just do the best you can based on everything we talked about in all these videos, what you know about the game as well, what you would like to experiment with. You can try that too. But, pull when you need to. Try out some harass mechanics we talked about, auto-attacking without entering the creep wave or messing up the creep wave. Don't let the creeps come under your tower too much, especially the first wave. All that kind of stuff. Do the best you can. We covered it. Let's move on to the next stuff. With the laning stage over, you now need to identify your playmakers versus your farmers. And this is something you can begin to do in the draft. So some heroes are more likely to farm than others. So like a Medusa, very likely to be a farm heavy hero, but someone like a Puck could be a playmaking hero, but might also want to farm. And then some heroes, like if you had a Pudge mid, for example, that's not good right now, but I mean, it happens sometimes. Pudge is very much a playmaking mid. Like, he can't just sit and farm. He will fall behind. He needs to do things. Some heroes, so like the Pudge versus Medusa example, are almost for sure going to be a playmaker no matter how they do in the lane. And then Medusa, like whether she wins or loses, she is still going to be a farmer. But many heroes fall somewhere in between and want to do a bit of both. So like Ember Spirit, if he has a bad time in lane, maybe he'll want to try to make plays to catch up, or maybe he'll just try to farm to catch up. And like vice versa. If he's doing really well, he'll probably be a playmaker because he's ahead and he can get kills. But maybe he just wants to finish up an item real quick and he'll farm up for a little bit. You have to identify, based on the laning stage and based on what heroes they're playing, who is going to be a playmaker and who is going to be a farmer. And like we already touched on, sometimes people are both, and you need to identify when they want to do one or the other. So for example, Lycan as your carry, he is generally a farmer, but when he has his ultimate, he wants to use it to get a kill. And then, when it's on cooldown, he will now go back to farming. And so it's like these phases where it's like, I'm a playmaker, now I'm a farmer. Now I'm a playmaker, now I'm a farmer. When he's a playmaker, you want to go play with him. When he's a farmer, just leave him be. We haven't talked about that quite yet. I'm just going through identifying first. But Luna and Jug, they're another good example. Their ultimates, very good at killing people. But they're still carries, they still want to farm a lot. So for the most part, they're farmers. But when they have their ultimates, they can be more aggressive. They can start making plays. And they don't necessarily have to use their ultimate, right? If you play aggressively with Luna and start to take the tower and someone sort of comes to defend, but you just kill them without your ultimate, guess what? You can still be aggressive. You can keep making plays until you're forced to use your ultimate. And then you can say, okay, ultimate down. I'm no longer good at fighting. I'm going to go farm. What if you use, let's say Juggernaut, every time you use your ult, you get a kill. Like, it doesn't happen, but let's say it can. It's 140-second cooldown right now, which is a bit over 2 minutes. Let's just round it down to 2 minutes for the sake of this example. So I tell you, if you use it every time it comes off cooldown, you can get a kill every 2 minutes. That sounds pretty good, right? The issue with a lot of games is that either the carry doesn't know or the hard supports don't enable them, but people like Jug, who could be getting a kill every 2 minutes, are just in a farm mindset when they should be in a playmaking mindset. So when he has his ultimate, he should be looking to make plays, looking to be aggressive so that he can ult, get that extra gold from getting a kill, but also push objectives. Like, it advances his team's advantage. But if instead he just farms when he has his ultimate and he doesn't use it for like 5 minutes, that could have been 2 kills, and then it's like halfway off cooldown. Whereas now he just like doesn't have a kill that entire time, or maybe he uses it once. Like, do you see how that's an issue? And the longer it goes, the worse it gets. So like, let's say over 6 minutes, he could have 3 kills, but he only used it once, so he got 1 kill. Like, winning a team fight off a kill could be a tower, which is, several hundred gold for your team as a whole. It could be opening up new parts of the map so that you can farm more efficiently. It's a lot you can do when you're a playmaker, when you have that ability, and then you go back to farming. Now, as a hard support, we don't really control our carries, I know that, but you still need to identify it, at least for yourself. And if your carries misplay, then what can you really do? But if you can identify it, then that means that when they are playing well, you will know to adjust to that and go play with them. And you can also lightly encourage your team. Don't push them too hard, because if you push someone beyond what they understand of the game, they'll often just play worse than if you just let them do what they're not playing the best, but that's still better than forcing them into something totally new that they don't understand. But there's like a level to it. It depends how toxic they are, or like how receptive they are to it. But you can push the idea a bit. Like, if an anti-mage is joining your fights and he really shouldn't be because he never reached that playmaking stage, you can tell him like, hey man, you don't have to join these fights even if we're losing. Like, just go farm. In a nice way, guys. Same with Juggernaut. Like, hey, you have your ultimate. How about we go push with Juggernaut? Or like, hey, Juggernaut, do you want to come up here and push with us and then after we take this tower, we'll all leave and you can just farm this area. Gentle suggestions to your team. But now that I've gone into enough about identifying playmakers versus farmers, and we'll still talk about it a bit more, but let's talk about like each. So as the hard support, we can't get that much done on our own. That's why we want to identify the playmaker, and we want to go help them, you guessed it, make plays. Imagine if you as the solo hard support pushed up to the enemy tower, there's 2 heroes defending it. Nothing's really going to happen. It might still be okay for you, like you might be making space, but sometimes you want something to happen. And that's where the playmaker comes into play, where you're going to move with them. You aren't going to teleport. You'll notice that's on the farming side. So let's say the laning stage is over. We identify the offlane as the playmaker. We are going to walk over there, and we're going to play with the offlaner. And hopefully the 4 support is also there. And we want to, like, they're going to make plays, and we're going to enable them. We're going to support them. If we have someone who's ready to start making plays, then we want to start getting down aggressive vision. If we have like a Legion commander, we want to ward the enemy jungle so that maybe we can smoke over there and duel someone. That we're enabling all of this by placing the vision over there and then maybe buying a smoke as well. We are getting our playmaker to do stuff and not just farm, because that is bad. When a playmaker is farming or when a farmer is trying to make plays, like, it's not efficient. You don't want that. You have to enable people to do things when they need to do them, if that makes sense. Now, farmers, they're like the reverse. So it's like our carry. We are walking away from their lane so that we can teleport to protect them if need be. If the enemy goes on them, we need them to farm. So we might teleport to save them. Now, of course, they might just be able to leave on their own and we continue to make plays. That's okay. It's just like something you have to judge for yourself. If your carry is being dove under tower, they're probably not going to get away. You probably have to teleport to help them out. If they're for sure dead and there's nothing you can do, just let them die and keep making plays. But maybe they're further out in the lane. You see people going to gank them, and you rotate to make sure they get out alive. That can be okay. But if that hero's just going to leave on their own, like it's a Juggernaut, and he's like, I'm just going to spin TP to a different lane. It's like, okay, I don't even need to go. I will keep making plays. These guys, you want defensive vision. You want to set them up so that you can leave them alone. We did talk about this in some of the laning stage videos and in some of the warding where, before we leave our carry, we drop a ward to spot ganks on them. This lets them just farm on their own. We don't need to help them, but they'll be safe with the vision that we leave. Some games will have too many playmakers, and this can be okay. When you have too many playmakers, that means you're an early game lineup because you don't need to farm that much. So it's like, okay, we have to do stuff. This can be like this is often based on your cores. So for example, if you had do this on the fly. Let's say Dragon Knight, Timbersaw, who else? And a Razor. None of these guys scale that well into the late game. It's like okay, but a lot of them are very strong in the early game. They're all playmakers to a degree. That means, like, thinking back to some of the topics we discussed, how would that affect your itemization? Well, if we want to make plays early, I might buy some cheap items that help our team. So like a Ring of Basilius to make sure we all have mana as we're grouped making plays, or like a medallion, quite cheap and very effective in the early game. The other side of that is if we have a lot of farmers. So like you have a Tinker, an Anti-Mage, and like who's a farming offlaner? There's not too many. Most offlaners by default are kind of playmakers, but people just play them as farmers. But maybe like Darkseer or Pugna could be an example of one. Or maybe like a Lycan. I don't know. It's kind of awkward. Usually your offlaner should be a playmaker, and that's why it's like really weird when they pick farmers. But the point is, if your team has too many farmers, and oftentimes just like 2 heavy farmers is too much. So like Anti-Mage Tinker alone is like too much already. Let alone if your offlaner is also a farm heavy hero. But when you have too many farm heroes, or like you're heavier on the farming side, maybe not too many, but you just have like two, you know what I'm saying. When you have too much farming, your team is a late game lineup where it's like, okay, we are weak early, we can't do too much. You're going to focus more on being defensive. You're going to focus on keeping your teleport ready to protect people. You can still try to make plays, but the reason you're making plays is to make space for your farmers. Whereas when you're all playmakers, the reason you make plays is because you need to like actually end the game. But in terms of the farming lineup, you don't really care if you actually take objectives. You're just trying to stall the game out so that you'll eventually get the farm you need and you'll win in the late game. But of course, actually taking objectives does open up the map for you to like enable you to farm better and like so on. So there is a balance between it. But like an early game lineup has to take objectives because otherwise, like this is when they're strongest. We're kind of bleeding into the next topic actually, but like if you have heavy playmakers, you need to do stuff at that time. To summarize this section, some heroes will be heavily one or the other. Always a playmaker, always a farmer. Some heroes will be somewhere in between, and you have to judge for yourself like, hey, in this game, are they a playmaker or are they a farmer? And then some heroes will swap in between. When they have their cooldowns, they are ready to make plays. When they don't, they want to go farm. Whoever your available playmakers are at a given time is when you want to do stuff. You want to take those heroes that are playmakers and you want to go, not necessarily take an objective, but you want to do something, which is often taking an objective, but it could just be like invading the enemy jungle, disrupting their farm, getting some kills. Like, even though that doesn't strictly lead to a tower, it is doing something. It is slowing down the enemy while getting kills yourself. It helps you establish vision in that area. That is an acceptable option. It is just doing something. So gather your playmakers and then think back to what we talked about, like the tower priority, like identify your next objective. So let's say it's like, hey, I want this offlane tier 1 tower. Who are my playmakers right now? Offlane is a playmaker, and then my mid puck has his ultimate right now. So why don't I ask him to go up as well? And maybe if I'm walking from the safe lane, I can tell him, hey, push that lane out. I have a smoke. Let's smoke up there. The off lane and the 4 support will act normal. They'll push in the lane, and then all 4 of us can dive. We are making this play while puck is using his cooldown. The off laner is someone who just always wants to make plays, like, let's say Sand King, who's just like always ready to fight for the most part. We're going to do something top. And then now that Puck has used Dream Coil, we're like, okay, Puck, you can go off. Like, you are now farming. You are like no longer needed for plays. You can go off. But the 3 of us are still ready to do stuff. Sand King is still a playmaker. Like, I'm a support, so like this is good for me. The 4 is also a support, good for him. It's like, hey, we have 3 of us. What is our next objective? We just took this tower. Mid tower could be nice. So why don't the 3 of us go mid? Puck, you're in farm mode. Why don't you stay top and you farm this area? And then when Puck, your cooldown is off, why don't you join us? Or let's say that the 3 of you, so like that same scenario, and instead of going mid lane, you say that, hey, our carry Luna has her ultimate. Why don't the 3 of us all go bottom right now, play with Luna because she's really strong right now. Let's take that tier 1 tower. You go, you do that, Luna uses her ultimate. Guess what? Hey, Luna, you're no longer a playmaker. You just use your ultimate. Why don't you stay here and farm? Dream Coil is off cooldown. Let's all go meet mid. That was our next objective. You know, we are bringing our playmakers around and meeting... Hold on, I thought of a better way to say it. Whoever is a consistent playmaker is who you are always moving with. And the places you are moving to are your different objectives, like the tower priorities we talked about. But along the way, you want to meet the other teammates who might be switching in between being a playmaker or a farmer. I hope that was clear. If you have a lot of farmers, you kind of have to act as a playmaker, which is like really rough. So this is what we'll end on. Sometimes you do have 3 heroes like who like all want to farm, but someone in that still has to be the most likely to do something, to make plays. And you kind of have to get that hero to play with you. Or if they don't want to play with you, you go to them. But this is why it's really bad when you have like 3 heroes in the jungle, like 3 core heroes in the jungle, because like what are the 2 supports to do? They're supposed to enable people to do things, and it's like no one want like let me enable you to hit that jungle creep better. It doesn't do anything, right? This is why it's so bad when that happens. Again, try not to flame your team, try not to push them too hard, but at the same time, you kind of need to be like, please, one of you, like, come push X objective with me. Please come farm top, and we will stand behind you while you farm. Like, that is still better than just AFK farming the jungle. Some games it's not going to happen. Again, we're not going to worry about it too much. You cannot win every game, so, like, if that game happens, just, like, okay, unfortunate. I tried to talk to them as well. It didn't work out. Okay, maybe next game. As long as you won your laning state, then it's like, okay, I did my part this game. If we lose, whatever. The last phase of this is this question, is my team stronger? This does tie into the playmakers and farmers thing, but it is also a little different. First, let's tie it together. So if you have a bunch of playmakers, like we were saying, and that means your team is an early game lineup, that often means that your team is stronger at this beginning phase. And if your team instead has a lot of farmers, then that usually means, okay, my team is not that strong right now, but later, after they get their farm, and they, like, once you get your farm, you will switch to more of a playmaker. Like, when Ursa is farming, it's to reach a point where he can do stuff. When PA is farming, it's to reach a point where she can just delete heroes, and she becomes a playmaker. Farmers just take longer to get to that point, and playmakers are just like faster to get to that point. So when your team is stronger, it's like, okay, I have a bunch of farmers now, can't do much. But eventually they will get strong, be ready to fight, then we're stronger. This helps you to identify when you want to do stuff. So if your team has a bunch of playmakers, you're an early game lineup, you are stronger right now. But you also, like, it's not just that you're stronger now, it's that you are actually on a timer, because the enemy team will eventually become stronger than you if they have more farmers. This video, I've said playmaker and farmer so many times, it's getting to me. But they will actually surpass you later in the game, which means you have to feel this sense of urgency. Like, we have until 25 minutes before the enemy hero comes online. Like, we need to get a lot, and we need to put ourselves in a position to win in that time. We don't necessarily need to win in 25 minutes, but perhaps we need to take all the tier 1s and 2s and Roshan and have, like, chipped away some of the mid tower. We are in a position to win the game. Not necessarily that you have to win right then. That is a very important distinction. I think a lot of people make that mistake where they feel really rushed, like they need to win. Like, oh, we're against AM and Medusa, like, we have to win right now. And so they push too hard to win by a certain time. But you don't have to necessarily win early. You just need to put yourself in a position to win early. And then after that, you can take a little longer to close it out. So an example, and it can be a very hard line to point out, I will admit. It's very difficult to recognize what the correct decision is. But let me go into the points real quick. So first, sometimes it could be a level or item timing. This is just a consideration for you. Like, is my team stronger? Sometimes, let's say Spectres. Like, when Spectre gets her Radiance, our team is possibly stronger. Not always, but it's like possibly stronger because it just has such amazing synergy on that hero. Like, that's why it's such a common buy. And sometimes it's just a certain level. Like, we just hit level 2 Death Prophet ult. It's just, we're really strong right now with it. So we should push. Sometimes it's a mix. Sometimes it's both. Broodmother, a hero that really wants to hit level 20 because her talents are really good. That kind of thing. Where sometimes it's a talent that makes someone strong. Sometimes it's just having, 4 points in 2 of your abilities, or like 2 points in your ult, whatever. And sometimes it requires certain conditions. So, like, if in general you are weaker than the enemy team, then you decide, hey, but actually when we have 4 heroes and they have 2, aren't we stronger? Oh yeah, we are. Like, we can just do that. A more classic example is like a 5-man lineup where you're really good at just grouping together, and any fight that happens there, you tend to win because your team has built auras, you probably have an initiator, maybe even 2. You have good damage, and it just makes team fighting really good. Now, the other team, you know, they didn't build auras, but they have really good damage. They have a little bit of lockdown, and they're a little squishy. And that's why they've been losing the 5-man lineups, because they're like, well, we just get out initiated, and then they kill us before we can really do anything. But they're really good at picking off people. With the one stun they have, you know, if they stun someone, then the second person has so much damage, they just kill them. In what conditions is each team stronger now? The 5-man lineup is obviously stronger in a direct 5-on-5 fight. The other team, who is good at pick-offs, they want it to be more scattered. They don't want to engage in the 5v5. They want to avoid that, and they want to look for heroes that are alone to go kill that hero. And if you kill, say, one hero who was alone for some reason, now maybe you can take a 5-on-4 fight. You have switched the conditions to make your team stronger. You need... What am I trying to say here? When you are considering trying to make things happen with your playmakers, you want to consider if your team is stronger. And if you are not in a direct fight stronger, then you want to put yourself in a condition or a scenario where your team is stronger. So if you see an enemy hero teleport bottom, you know that they cannot be in a top fight. So you should say, like, let's go make a play there, because originally, if this guy was able to rotate in, we always lose this fight. But now that he can't come to this fight, we can start one here, and we are stronger. We will win this fight. This can be hard to do, especially if you're not good at identifying teleports, if you're not good at keeping track of that stuff. This is quite like a higher level kind of thing. But it is what people are doing at the highest level, is recognizing this hero cannot join this fight. Usually we couldn't fight them, but now we can. Is looking for these kind of opportunities. Or like, wow, every time we fight and this guy has chrono up, we lose. He just used chrono on a pickoff. We are strong right now. We should fight. Identifying when your team is stronger is the time you can make plays, and that is when you need to like get your playmakers together and go. If your team was always weaker, then your playmakers, even if they have like cooldowns available, so like Puck has Dream Coil, but you're just going to lose the fights, then it's like, whoa, okay, let's just farm until we see an opportunity. We see someone teleport, and we go, here's our opportunity. We have like 60 seconds right now to run top, start a fight there, where this Void, who has chrono, but he has no teleport, he will not join this fight, and we are now stronger. Sometimes in early game lineups, so now we're switching, let me make this clear. We are switching lines of thought now. One of the issues that many people face is, I'll use Anti-Mage, he's a classic example. You'll chase the Anti-Mage around even though you don't have good lockdown and you don't have a good way to kill him, because you have this fear of like, Anti-Mage is going to out-carry us, and like, we need to slow him down as much as possible right now. That is generally true. And that's why you need to consider how much you can slow him down by chasing him versus how much you could get done by ignoring him. So Anti-Mage, for example, I'll say 25 minutes. That's kind of arbitrary, but also actually quite accurate. Anti-Mage, farming well, will not have an impact until like the 25-minute mark, when he has Battle Fury, Manta, and Basher. Now, once he has those 3, he will start to be quite scary. But until then, he probably doesn't contribute that much to a team fight. With some varying results, of course. But let's just put this out as a generality. If you have an extremely strong early lineup, should you waste time chasing him around? Or should you just push to high ground? What if you totally ignore Anti-Mage and you are able to take racks by 20 minutes? Even though he's farming completely freely, your team just took advantage of the fact that you are so strong right now, and Anti-Mage is not, that you just took racks. And you have put yourself into a position to win by 20 minutes, even though you have not won yet, and even though the game probably will get to 25 minutes, and now Anti-Mage has Basher, and he has reached the point where he can have impact, you have already done enough as a team that you took a lot of objectives to put pressure on the team. You have put yourself in a good spot, and the gold you got from all of that helped you to finish up some items which protect you from AM or help you kill him, and like even though he can now blink, bash, whatever, it's like, oh, my mid laner actually finished a hex from all of this. That'd be a weird item, I guess. That's probably a little too early. How about we go with like our guy rushed an abyssal. Oh, Orchid. I don't know. What's a good example? Whatever. Maybe someone rushed a hex or an Orchid or a basher or whatever. It gave you some way to kill anti-mage, and like now you are ready to fight him, even though he was farming well. What often happens though is that people will chase the anti-mage around and you delay him a bit, but you're not really getting objectives in that time. And like he is okay with delaying the game. He's like behind, but it's like, wow, the enemy team was an early game lineup and they are just chasing me around and not taking objectives. If you chase him around and take objectives, then it's kind of okay. There's like a very fine balance, which I'm not giving enough nuance to be honest, but we just have to go with these general cases first, where you chase anti-mage and like, okay, he's not going to be online till 30 minutes. But at the 30-minute mark, you got most towers, but they still have some tier 2s, let's say 2 of them, and you didn't get Barracks, you didn't get Aegis or anything like that. Like, isn't this a much better case for anti-mage now? Where he is now online and your team didn't really do anything to set yourself up to win? Yeah. Now, of course, the ideal case is that you do take objectives while slowing him down. And like, we get racks. Like, let's say you balance it out a bit. So we don't get racks till like 23 minutes, but we also delayed anti-mage by like 5 or 10 minutes. Like, overall, this is good. We want to find that balance in between. And there's no easy way to say that. Like, there definitely have been games where we tried to ignore the carry, like anti-mage or morphling, and we didn't do enough in that time, and then they come and kick our butts. Like, that absolutely happens. It's really hard to get the balance right. But I'm going to at least point it out so that you know that there is a balance. It's not like, oh man, I play against anti-mage and we just always lose. Like, there is this very fine line balance where you have to delay them a bit, but also really push objectives while they're weak. I think I'm going to try to find the game, hopefully. But if I don't, I'm going to explain it. There was a game I played where I was Jakiro, I had a 4 support Nyx, and the enemy had an Alchemist. Alchemist is a hero that farms extremely quickly and then becomes a huge playmaker. All we did was chase him around the map. From like 4 minutes onwards, we just chased him back and forth. And we were like level 4 at like 15 minutes, but Alchemist was so far behind where he should be that our whoever we had was stronger than Alchemist. So that usually at, say, the 20-minute mark, Alchemist would be... I'm going to use some arbitrary heroes here. Let's say Alchemist at the 20-minute mark is much stronger than a Dragon Knight, usually, because of how fast the Alchemist farms. But if you recognize that Alchemist, like, because his farming is so important, if you ruin him and you just chase him around so that now it takes him till like 25 minutes to be as strong as he usually would be at 20 minutes, and Dragon Knight was having a really good time because you were wasting Alch's time, so Dragon Knight was free farming, so he's stronger than usual at 20 minutes, but he's particularly stronger because the Alchemist is behind. Now Dragon Knight is a threat to Alchemist. And you can maintain that status quo going forward. I don't know. Again, it is kind of hard to explain. There is a lot of very hero-specific matchups like this that just take experience in the game to start to understand. But I wanted to point it out so that you can at least start thinking about it and start determining when you should have done stuff. Before going over examples, I want to cover a couple things that should signal to you we might have an opportunity here to do something. You may not act on just one of these, so like if your carry gets a double damage rune, that might not necessarily mean, okay, we now have to group and fight, but it is something that is in your favor. And if a couple of these line up, then that might be something to look for a major play. So like the double damage rune, but then they also just picked up their BKB, and you see the enemy carry teleport bottom. Like these three things have lined up to be a good recipe for success if you take a fight, say in the top lane, where the enemy carry isn't. You'll have your double damage, you'll have their BKB to catch them by surprise. Boom. So let's go over them real quick. Spell and item cooldowns, pretty self-explanatory. The cooldown has to be long enough to matter, and it has to be significant enough to matter. So Like Lion Stun, like who cares? It's only a few seconds and it's going to be back up. It's not really something to make a big deal about. But Enigma ult, Tide Ravage, these are really long cooldowns that play a big part in a team fight that might signal, okay, maybe we can go for a fight. In terms of items, it's really only BKB. That's the most common. Thinking about it, I suppose Aeon Disc and maybe Refresher Orb could also go in this category, but most other items are low cooldown enough where you can't really make a full team play based on it. You might be able to make a small gank, like you're waiting in the trees and you see the enemy use their Blink Dagger to go to a camp faster. Then you know that Blink is on cooldown for 10 seconds and you guys can just run at her. That could be an example where a low cooldown spell can play a role into it. Another one would be in terms of spells like OD's Astral in the laning stage. You wait for him to use it aggressively, and now he can't use it defensively. That is a good time to gank. So if it's a big cooldown spell or item, you might want to make a big team play, go for a tower, something like that. And if it's one of these lower cooldowns, that can signal a gank opportunity. Teleport cooldowns, mainly this is the teleport scroll, but it also includes like Nature's Prophet, who can teleport around the map, maybe Chen, to an extent, Spectre ult, although I consider that more of a spell cooldown. But anything that helps you get around the map can be a reason to make a play. So thinking specifically about the teleport scroll, if you see the enemy carry teleport to the bottom lane, that means any fight that happens in the top lane or even to the middle lane to an extent, the carry can't get there quickly. Even if he sprints and he's a fast hero, probably going to take him at least 15 to 20 seconds to get to a fight mid. And sometimes fights can be decided very quickly. Like you only need 3 seconds to get a kill and immediately set the fight into your favor so that even if the carry gets there after that, like you're already in the lead. But sometimes it's not like that, and the fight is going to go on for quite a long time, and the carry is going to have time to run over. Then you have to be a little careful. But teleport cooldown should signal something like that. To another extent, if, say, you kill the carry, and he teleports to top lane, this is more of a laning stage thing. If you can kill him again right now, it would be great, because now his teleport is on cooldown when he respawns, and he has to run to lane. So that can also be another time where it's really nice to go aggressive, but for like a different reason. New items. So if your team just finished a Blink Dagger, a BKB, Shadow Blade, Orchid, Hex, whatever, there's a ton of items you could include in here. Usually a core finishing an item, a support finishing like a Glimmer Cape is not really like, oh, totally change the fight. It'll surprise them. You probably get away like once or twice until they get detection to them, but still, it doesn't warrant this big team movement. Now, a support Blink Dagger, that can, but surprise, medallion, whoa, that thing doesn't really matter. So it has to be an item that has a significant impact on the team fight, so Blink, BKB, that kind of thing. But that can be a great time to smoke up as a team and make a big play by surprising the enemy because they didn't expect your Enigma to have Blink yet. That's a good time to make a play. Roshan, we won't cover it too much, but when you kill Roshan for 5 minutes, and a little after that as well, if you still have the cheese and any of the other items, or I guess really just Refresher Shard because the Aghanims goes to you permanently. But if you have those, then like that's a pretty big advantage usually. So that can also be a time to play aggressively. Power runes. This is easier to play around if your mid laner got a bottle, and it's one of the reasons that mid laners will keep their bottle even in the late game, so that they can get a double damage rune, bottle it, and for 2 minutes they can choose when to use it. They use it, then they swap their item back in, and then they can start the fight. But even ignoring the late game example, the power runes are just really powerful. Isn't that crazy? I know, right? But your carry getting double damage or getting hasted. Usually illusion isn't a huge deal unless you're like Terrorblade or Naga. Arcane rune for people with big spells, so like Death Prophet, Shadow Shaman, when it's like, hey, this would be a great time to use my ult, because usually I have to wait like 3 minutes to use this spell again, but now I'm going to be able to use it way sooner, so like, can we get something going with this? That can be a great time to start a fight. Invis rune to set up a gank, usually, like surprise people. That may not be, like some of these are reasons to start a big fight, and some are reasons to start like a small gank. but they're just opportunities. Having good vision in general is great. Just being able to see the map, even if it's a full team fight, just being able to see where they are when they're trying to be sneaky, when they're trying to get away, someone trying to wrap around and blink in, surprise you. Just having great vision in an area is a good reason to go play in that area because you'll just see a lot of what is happening. And it also lets you protect your wards. So if they go to D ward, you can go jump them and not lose your wards. But it can also help you spot these other opportunities and spot the opportunities that the enemy team is making. So if you have good wards and you see them finish a blink dagger and then smoke up, like you just caught two things. You saw the blink dagger and you saw that they were smoked. So just having good vision lets you pick the fights you want, and it's good. That's how I'm finishing like all of these. They're just all good. And then having a numbers advantage. So I'm talking about having more people on your team against like 5 of your team versus 3 of their team. Just 5 to 3. It's a natural advantage for you. This is particularly important when your team is behind. So like you would always lose a 5-on-5 and maybe you even lose like 5-on-4. But if you bring 3 heroes to gank 1 hero, that probably goes in your favor. And if you do that again, then suddenly the remaining heroes, there's 5 versus 3. Now you can force an objective and win a fight. So this is very important when you're behind, but it's still great to do when you're ahead or even. And there are different reasons this might happen. So first, the enemy team might be split up. So in the laning stage, obviously they're split up. But then beyond that, it's pretty inefficient to just farm one lane as 5 people. People will naturally be some in top, some in the jungle. For whatever reason, they're moving around. And that can be a great reason to suddenly jump 2 people who are alone bottom. Another reason is that they're dead, so you just gotta kill. And let's say you killed the enemy OD. Good time to go. You're 5 versus 4, and OD was a big part of the team fight. Like, why not? Even if it's a support kill who has less impact in a team fight, like Crystal Maiden, it's still 5 versus 4. So, again, you don't just have to act on this. Like, maybe it's not enough of a reason to go, but it should be adding to your, like, list of advantages that's like, okay, we have enough, now we can go. Teleports also play a role into this. So that's kind of why teleport cooldowns, where someone goes bottom and you have a reason to fight top now because you have the numbers advantage. So now we're going to go into different opportunities, or I'm sorry, now we're going to go into different examples, and we'll try to point out some of these opportunities as reasons we make plays. Played some new games yesterday, so we're not going to just keep watching the same like 5 games over and over again. New examples here. We did okay in this laning stage. So if you look at it, it's relatively even. I'm going to skip most of the like first 12 minutes because it's just laning. It's not that important. Or like, it was important, but it's not what the point of this video is. Because we're relatively even, what should we do? When you just win the laning stage, it's very easy to just say like, oh, we just push our advantage and win. But this is the example where if we consider where we're at, it's pretty even. If we consider the late game potential of both these teams, I could see it going either way, honestly. Storm Spirit is probably the best late game hero in this game, but we do have ways to kill him. If we get like an Abyssal, we have the Reaper's Scythe, Overgrowth. If he gets a Hex, like, it's not too impossible for us to win late game. So it really comes down to the decisions we make here. Now that laning stage is over, it comes to the opportunities we find and how we play. If we consider the potential of all our heroes, I'll keep playing for now. Ursa is a hero that is in farm mode right now, but can get kills. It's a little weird like that, where he's bad at farming, and he's going to go Diffusal this game. So even though the meta right now is Battle Fury, which helps him farm, honestly, he can still fight with Battle Fury. And right now he's getting a Diffusal so we can fight more. But still, he has to farm this up. He can farm lane creeps totally fine. He's not that good at farming the jungle efficiently. He's good at getting kills, but you have to make sure you can get those kills. Because otherwise, if we don't get kills and we're all up here, it's kind of like we're splitting XP. It's a waste of, like, he's farming fine, but he could probably be doing that even without us here. And maybe us going somewhere else could have more value to the team. But if we do get kills up here, that's great. It speeds up Ursa. We're getting track kills. All in all, good stuff. But he does want to farm, so if we can't get him kills, then we should just leave. SF is another hero who kind of goes both ways. He could be a playmaker, could be a farmer. It really depends on the game, how they're playing. I would say a Yule's build, like he's trying to get up to Yule's before doing much. So I would say he's mostly in farm mode right now. But again, could go either way, where he has the damage to just get kills if you can set it up. But since he's against a Storm Spirit and we are a Bounty Hunter and Treant, it's kind of hard to set that kill up. Treant Protector, I do have Overgrowth, and in that time we could probably get a kill. But like, how do I gank a Storm Spirit? I walk through river like this? No. I come through here through these trees, that tower's going to see me. I have to wrap all the way around, and then maybe I can Overgrowth him here under his own tower. It's tough. Possible, this last one, but it takes a lot of time to go all the way around. Necrophos, when he has his ult, he wants to do something. He's a playmaker at this point. And he's pretty good in like tri lanes where all of us are down here fighting all of them. Just the nature of his spells, he's pretty good at that. So it's kind of weird where all three of these heroes could do plays and could also not. Right now, I would say in a normal game, usually I would want to come down here and play with Necrophos because he has his ultimate and because this tower is so good to get. However, because we're all up here already, and like we said, we don't want to teleport places, so both Bounty Hunter and I would need to walk... Oh, I can't... Oh, there we go. We would need to walk all the way bottom in order to make a play with Necrophos, which would take probably about 40 to 45 seconds. And then, this is an okay place to be, and if we're needed, we can teleport top. The question is then, is it worth this 45 second to walk bottom and possibly get a kill? There's no guarantee. Just because he has Reaper's Scythe, like, they're playing back right now. Is there any guarantee that they're going to be up here by the time we get there 45 seconds later? No. So did we just run 45 seconds to not get anything done? Possibly. Whereas up here, because we are getting kills, like, maybe it's worth it to just stay up here. In 45 seconds, what could we get done? Could we get another kill? Then that would kind of be worth being up here. If it was like a Luna on our team who can just fall to the jungle, who is only a playmaker when she has her ult, and then after that she's in farm mode, then yeah, I would say let's run bottom. But Ursa is ready to fight at any time, especially with track and especially with me to provide all the slows so he can just hit people. So if we can get kills up here, it's totally fine to be here. And that's why we're a little hesitant to leave, even though we just got a double kill. We're wondering, like, are they just going to come back? Can we just, like, kill them again? And so we're running this way a bit, trying to stay off the map, make them unsure. And because we have good vision, we see that they're up here. You may notice I misclicked this. The ward was in a... It got delivered in the wrong spot, and in the heat of the moment, I misclicked it. There was like a fight going on, and I put it in the trees. Oops. But these two are good vision. And so we see her alone, and we decide, you know what? We're right here. Let's go kill her. And now, again, we have to ask ourselves, okay, technically, the good spot to be in would be bottom. But do we spend the time running all the way there? Maybe we can do something mid, so we can, like, position ourselves in between and decide, like, okay, we could possibly go mid, possibly go top. But we see him alone top. He came again. She's still dead. So it's like, well, why don't we just go top, kill him again? That's what I'm saying right now. I'm like, hey, let's go kill this guy. Then we see Lich, and we say, oh, kill Lich first. That's what Bounty Hunter's saying. Which I think is overall fine, but they just start going on him, so you just kind of go with it. And we get these 2 kills. Storm came up here. Now, Storm did teleport. We saw him mid right before that fight, so he must have teleported top. So that was on our opportunities list. But if we think about it, it doesn't really apply in this situation, does it? Because 3 of us are already up here and running like, oh, we can start a fight bottom and he won't be there. Yeah, but we have to run all the way bottom. And by that time, like, he could have run bottom or he'll almost have his teleport at that point. So it doesn't really make sense in that case. Now here we can skip forward a little bit. Or actually, let's just speed up. So right now, I die there. It's kind of me feeding. Should I come back top now? Or should I go bottom? Thinking about what we talked earlier, the reason we weren't bottom is because we were already top, so it would have taken a long time to run down. and because like we were getting kills. But now Bounty Hunter is not top, and because I'm dead, like it takes me just as long to run top as it does to run bottom. So why not just run bottom and be ready to teleport top? What am I doing? Let's skip forward. So you see, I did that. I came bottom to push it out because this is where I want it to be. But they went on Ursa. I skipped past that a little bit. So Necrophos ended up TPing top. So that means, like, originally I wanted Necrophos, me, and Bounty Hunter to be down here, forcing this to create pressure to get this tower, while Ursa and SF are free to farm, and we can look to use Reaper Scythe. But they actually went top now. So I want to be ready to also go top if something happens. So I'm trying to keep an eye on it. And SF is now down here, and he can push this himself. So our team started to make a call like, hey, we should fight. So that's why I started to teleport. And fortunately, it was just in time. It's a bit of overlap, probably unnecessary. But it's going to work out. SF decides to also come up here because he got the tower bottom and because he sees how much of a commitment is going on here. This is a bit silly, all of us chasing him. We probably could have gotten more kills if only Necrophos chased him and then Ursa and I ran down here. I want to point out this. So we chase further. This team fight just works out. It's very close to like Ursa dying alone. And you'll notice we could get this tower, all 5 of us hitting it, but we leave it and we go do Roshan. Now I actually think Necrophos should be getting this tier 1 tower. I don't think he's needed here. Why do we do this? So this will be the end of this video, but why get Roshan instead of that tier 1 tower? Let's imagine we just get that tier 1 tower and then they respawn, so we can't do Roshan. We got a tier 1 tower, which is great for us. But I mean, now in a normal 5-on-5, like it's still, yeah, we're in the lead, but we could still lose. The reason that fight went so well is because we got some pickoffs first, and it wasn't a straight 5-on-5. It was like 4 versus 2, and then like we already killed some, so then it was like 5-on-3 or 4. So it was always in our favor. Whereas we could still technically lose a 5-on-5. But because we got Roshan instead, we now have Aegis for 5 minutes. And that means our opportunities are starting to line up. Remember, we talked about how it's not just one of these that means, okay, it's time to go. Like, it's more like when you have several of them line up. And so now for 5 minutes, Roshan is always ticked for us. Like, we have Aegis. So now if we ever see anything else, it's like, oh, we have Aegis and a haste rune on Ursa. It's time to fight. We have Aegis and a new item or whatever. It's like, we can fight. But before that, if we had just gotten the tier 1 tower and not Roshan, it's like, oh, we got a haste rune. But, like, is that enough to fight? Maybe not. So that was why getting Aegis there was, in my opinion, the right call. But I actually think we could have gotten both. I think Necrophos could have gotten the tower as well, because he really doesn't add much to Roshan. So we're going to stop with this one and move on to another. The next game, Dota coordinator's down. Shocking. But for the next game, this one I don't have too much to say on. But let's take a look at this draft real quick. So I would have been hard support Jakiro with Naga in the bottom lane. DK and Treant top. Versus Grimstroke and Ursa top. And then I would have had to deal with Centaur and Bounty Hunter. Invoker is slightly favored in the OD matchup, as far as I know. Looking at the game as a whole, I would say we probably win late game if we make it there, because Naga just shouldn't, like, she should have a fine time against Ursa, and I don't think OD is that great against illusions anymore. I think I'm pretty sure the AoE got removed from his ability, and so his ult is still, like, nice to delete illusions, but, like, overall, I don't think they have a great lineup to deal with Naga. Maybe the new Battle Fury Ursa build is better, but I haven't seen that situation pop up too much. So at least what I was feeling is that we should win late. However, getting there could be an issue because Ursa Grimstroke is a very strong lane, and especially against another 2 melee heroes, like, that is really scary. Now our bottom lane should go okay. Like, if he has boots to start, he can be really annoying. He can keep blocking camps. He can make my lane difficult. And Naga, it's hard to bully her out too much because she has such good regen and armor and illusions. But Centaur is pretty good at bullying people. So I expected to do okay in the lane, but I knew it might be tough. And that's what I was thinking. And then our Dragon Knight goes, I think you guys should try lane top and let me solo bottom. And when he says that, and you look at it, you're like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense, right? Ursa, not good at dealing with illusions, especially at the start. Like 2 slows from Jakiro and Treant. It's going to be really hard to get on top of anyone in Inkswell, and like he's just going to get kited really hard. Bounty Hunter and Centaur bottom versus DK shouldn't be able to do much. Like DK is actually a really tanky hero, so who cares if he gets a bit of harass, right? He should be fine. And then if Bounty Hunter comes top, tri-lane versus tri-lane, like I think we're the better tri-lane. Where Naga, she won't fight as much, if possible, but like she's okay at it, especially with the illusions. These guys don't deal with it well. But our support combo, I think, is better than Bounty Hunter and Grimstroke because like we have such good, strong slows and they combo well together that our tri-lane is better than their tri-lane if they try to adjust to that. And DK versus Centaur should at least draw even for us, and then Invoker should at least be even, but I think he should win his lane. And then because it's a Naga versus Ursa, even if the lane goes even, that's to our favor. Ursa is a hero that is supposed to win his lane. Naga, it's expected where she can win her lane, but it's like, well, I'm a late game hero anyway, so it's like, if I lose, it's whatever. So the fact that we're going even would be fine. And I even think we could actually win. So I think his call to swap lanes actually just made this game so easy. Like, I think we could have won the game anyways, but like if you look at the score, look at how long it took, we crushed it. And I did not have the foresight to say that. I was kind of focused on my own lane, but I guess that's why he's rank 800, because he was thinking about the game as a whole. And he ended up crushing his lane bottom. We're not actually going to watch all of it. I just want to watch after we have won the lane what we do, because it is going to be one of the things that we covered, where Naga is a farmer. So we're reaching that point where am I? I am Jakiro. I'm not supposed to, hold on. Oh, there we go. Okay, so before we left bottom, oh no, there it is. Okay. So before we left top, so we got the tower, I placed both of these wards. Why did I do that? Let's think back to our opportunities and like our game plan. Our aggressive vision versus farmer defensive vision. Naga is in farm mode up here and should be totally fine up here. They just can't kill her, especially like she's close to being able to pick up Song of the Siren if she wants. They will not kill her. Especially because with these wards, we should see anyone coming to gank her. Anyone teleporting here and walking this way. Anyone walking this way. Anyone walking this way. If they want to walk through the lane, like we have creeps there. So all of this area should be very safe for Naga. And we talked about it before where, I can't draw, but she can farm this area. And if she does get bullied out, if they bring like 4 heroes there, they probably won't kill her, but I mean, she can't farm there anymore. She just falls back to this triangle. And as long as she has vision to see them coming in, she can do that and should be totally fine. So that's why I placed both of these wards before moving. And we didn't watch it, but we did walk mid, I believe. And then I think something happened, so yeah, it looks like we both teleported down here. And then this is okay. It's okay that we don't have aggressive vision, even though like this ward is placed here, so this is technically our aggressive ward. But even if we didn't have this, it would be okay, because Dragon Knight is a hero who just approaches from the front. He doesn't need anything sneaky. He just stands here and auto attacks his tower when the lane gets here. And if it pushes back, he comes back, he pushes the wave back, and repeat. Like, he doesn't need to see who's coming in. He is the frontliner who just he just plants himself there, and we stand behind him. So we don't actually need that much aggressive vision. And so I was okay dedicating 2 wards to protect Naga while we come play bottom or we go top. I feel like he's supposed to be in... Maybe this is a bug because I rewinded. But yeah, you see like how much he's struggling going through this slow. Like, Ursa just had a miserable time against us. And what should have been a winning lane for them top... We're actually done with this replay, so I'm just going to close it. Like, what should have been a winning lane for them top, where what happens is he Inkswells this Ursa runs at the Dragon Knight, kills him. Or Inkswell, Ursa runs at Treant, kills him. And you just repeat that, because these are 2 melee heroes. You can throw out the slow, but he probably hops over it, and then you get stunned, and then he kills you. Or like he can stun, that might be okay, but then you have to play safe until that's back up. It's just really hard. But by swapping the lanes, like that won our oops, not this one. Our game plan, our laning stage. That made everything easier, and then we went from there. Like we still considered, okay, Naga is a farmer, give her defensive vision. Our playmaker does not need as aggressive vision, so we'll just leave it at that and keep going. Yeah, easy one. In this game, I'm playing Pangolier 4, which I think is fine for this example, because if we look at our game plan, the hard support, the laning stage, they can't move around too much, so a lot of this decision-making comes after the laning stage, and that's the difference, where the 4 position does have that mobility to move around and look for opportunities. But after the laning stage, like we saw in the last 2 games, it's the 4 and the 5 moving around together quite frequently, so I think it's fine that I'm playing Pango 4 here. But if you look at the net worth graph, we struggled in the laning stage. So to be fair, they were tough lanes for both sides. It's like Legion and Veno, and then Ursa and Oracle versus 2 melee heroes. So it was pretty tough. Puck was doing well, but only about like 700 gold ahead of Invoker, which is certainly ahead, but it's not like crushing it. Whereas Ursa was like 1700 gold ahead of our Troll, and Legion's like 1000 gold ahead of Axe. So this is a game where we lost the laning stage for the most part, I would say. And now it is a matter of, okay, how do we come back from this? Because I do think we can win in the late game. Like, Troll is probably the best hero late here, although, like, Legion technically scales infinitely. But Pango is good against Legion and Ursa later in the game. And, Axe is pretty good against that kind of stuff. So I feel like we should win late, but we've started off on the wrong foot with this lane, so what kind of decisions do we make to come back? Well, for me, although Axe is usually the playmaker, because it's against an Ursa lane, and the 3 of us probably can't do anything, like the Pango, Axe, and Witch Doctor versus Ursa and Oracle, like, how are we going to kill that guy? How are we going to pressure him? He's probably going to pressure us. And I can't go top because they were losing, and so it's like, oh, am I going to pressure LC and Veno? That's pretty tough. What I have to do is play around Puck. Puck was doing the best, so Puck now becomes the playmaker. And I think Puck knew that, or maybe that was just their natural play style. But I followed Puck, and we just tried to make plays to get back into this game. And ultimately it did work. We did win this game. So we're going to hop into the replay, and I'm just going to point out one particular play that highlights everything we talked about. Here's the play I want to talk about. We smoked up, partly because they've been wanting to smoke this whole time, but Axe also just got a Blink Dagger. So let's take a look at this opportunity list. Axe just got a Blink Dagger. If we look at the map, we have decent vision. We see 2 heroes, and since we're all top, 5 of us top, at most there could be 3 enemy heroes in this area. And yeah, they can rotate in, but because it takes time to teleport in, 3 seconds and then 5 seconds for the next hero, in those 3 and 5 seconds, we might get 1 or 2 kills. And then even if those teleports finish, it's still like a 5 versus 3. So this smoke was to be the blink reveal for Axe, and honestly, that's enough reason on its own. Blink on an initiator is usually a free kill if you smoke with it. So that was enough of a reason to do it, but then we had like some other stuff here. Oh, sorry, you couldn't see it. The wards here and here, and we see the 2 heroes. So we make this play. I'll speed it up. This individual play is not that important so much as later. So we see Ursa coming in, and we've also placed our aggressive vision up here because we're smoked. They only have an enemy sentry up here, so they don't know that we just placed those. And so we're able to kill Ursa like so. And both these teleports get canceled. So what does that mean? Let's look at our opportunities. Teleport cooldowns. Where do we see them on the map right now? Let's go back to, let's just look at Dire Vision. We know they both tried to teleport here. We don't know where Veno was, except that last we saw him, he was pushing mid, so he's probably still in that vicinity. And we see Legion Commander down here. Ursa's dead 50 seconds. So that means at most 2 more heroes could defend this tower. And that they're kind of trapped bottom, and they have to push down here. And we did use Dream Coil, so there's that. And we did... I think we revealed that Axe had Blink. I'm pretty sure he blinked in there. But what I want to point out next is that because they're trapped bottom, they're just pushing while we push up here. And then... let's look at my perspective. Keeping an eye on bottom, making sure we get this tower. Puck goes in. Puck was pinging it, and then starts TPing. And I immediately TP to follow. Why? Great question. When I look at it from here, I'm not 100% sure if it was the right call, to be honest. But I think it was. I think these two heroes, mainly Troll, is the tower taker. Troll alone is like, I don't hit. I can't hit the tower because I have to be ready to initiate. So if I'm under tower, like, they know where I'm coming from. So it's important for me to stay out of sight. Same with Puck, where she's a very mobile hero, so she needs to stay out of vision. So neither of us are going to hit this tower, which means just Troll was going to take this tower anyways, even if we stayed out of sight. The creep wave just got killed and fortified off, but the next one is on the way, and we know that Legion and Veno can't come here, and the fact that we are going to chase them means that they can't TP in here easily anyways. Ursa's still dead, although he could be up, but I don't think Ursa, even with, say, Oracle, I don't think they can kill these two at this point right now, unless someone makes a mistake. So I feel like these two people should have kept pushing. They were a little annoyed that we didn't push. They were like, well, why'd you guys teleport out? The reason for Puck, in my opinion, is that he doesn't want to lose this tower for free. He feels strong right now, and he feels in the lead because Ursa's dead, and Puck is one of the strongest heroes in the game right now. He knows he can kill this guy quite easily. So why... like, when we are in the... we are stronger right now. There are 5 of us. There's 4 of them. We have our cooldowns. They probably do, but they don't have their teleports, which means they can't get out too easily if we chase them. If we take our advantage, our gank, and we kill one hero here, or we kill one tower here, and this tower, but then they get this tower, and this tower, that's a pretty fair trade for them. They don't really care. So I think coming here is the right idea to push them away and protect this tower, while these guys would get this tower. They don't in this case, so that's a bit of a shame, I think. But I also know that Puck is not yet at the point where it's easy for her to burst down people. So, like, she can probably get this kill on Invoker, but she needs a bit of help to finish it up. And that's why I feel that at this point in the game, I still felt Puck is the playmaker. I have to follow Puck around. If Puck TPs here by herself and tries to go on this guy and can't kill him immediately, she's going to be pretty vulnerable because she's going to have to use her mobility to get in. In fact, we see here, right? She goes in. I thought she was going to ult, honestly, and then I was going to follow up ult. Maybe I should have waited a little longer to TP in. I was trying to TP slightly out of sight, but I think it was still visible. But I think hers was visible too by the Legion. Maybe I should have timed mine more to be like further up so that by the time she blinks in and stuff. I don't know. It was a very quick decision. But I feel like this was the right call to follow the playmaker around. Because even though we started to catch up from our pretty bad start, like they're only 2k ahead now, and we even have the advantage in kills. I think giving up towers for free, and that kind of was for free. Like, I think this tower was ours if they just keep pushing. Axe went to cut mid, that was okay. But then he could just come back top, and just Puck and I are needed to defend bottom. Like, I think that was the right call. And so I want this play to show you, like, if you're ever not fully sure what to do, like you're not sure where the best plays are, but someone is doing well on your team, like Puck was for us, just follow that guy around. There have been other games, I won't show them, but like sometimes I'm respawning, and as I'm respawning, I'm just looking around the map. I'm like, where did my Clinks go? I'm just going to follow my buddy around. Like, where's Clinks at? Clinks is playing at the top? I'm playing at the top. Okay. Like, wherever that person is, I am going. Like, I will enable them. They are doing the best. That is my best place to have an impact. And that applies as the 5 as well. Whether you're the 4 or the 5. Just, well, it'll have some variance. But in general, in a game where you aren't sure what to do, just follow whoever is doing the best. Follow your playmaker. Last example here, I am position 4 Treant, technically. Again, doesn't really matter. At this point, we're making team decisions. And I want to show how a series of events leads to us winning this game. So we started off behind. We managed to catch up through a lot of team fights. We are now currently in the lead. But against a Medusa troll, that's why it was scary that we were behind at all, because it was like, oh man, how are we behind these two heroes? And then we did come back. So now we're in a position where we are in the lead, but we need to start thinking about trying to close out this game, because if it goes too long, it's going to be tough. Not saying we can't win in the late game. Like, we have decent late game heroes as well, but it's scarier, right? If we could win right now with a 12k lead, that would be much more preferable than duking it out with a Medusa and Troll and Underlord, Disruptor, all great late game heroes. So, first, what happens? Ember Spirit, an extremely mobile hero, comes and solo kills this Quap. Look at that. That was over half damage. That's crazy. I think he crit on it too. And so what does that open up for us? Ember Spirit has TP'd away from us. That much is true. But he's a very mobile hero. Even though he didn't leave a remnant behind because he used it to kill the Quap. Quap is dead. So thinking about our opportunities, we have an advantage. That is one advantage for us. We're also naturally in the lead, so that's another advantage. Looking at our lanes, top is pushed, mid is pushed, and now he is going to push bottom as well. We see this double damage here. So he's going to grab it. And usually our lineup is not the best. Like, these core heroes are not the best at doing Roshan. But with double damage, and the fact that we have a Vengeful Spirit with Medallion, combined with Wave of Terror and the Vlad's offering, makes it possible to do Roshan. So they're going to do Roshan. Turns out they have a ward here. You can see it on the minimap. I don't hold myself responsible. I was not the 5 this game, so warding was not my main responsibility. In the end, it doesn't really matter that they can see us doing Roshan because they were too scared to come fight us. Because Queen of Pain is dead, because they know we're in the lead, and because Slark picked up a double damage. They actually are a pretty good Roche team, honestly, especially if Quap was alive. But even without her, you have Firestorm and Root. You have Medusa, great at AoE fights and funnels, and Disruptor ult. And then you got this guy like just throwing in DPS. So honestly, their Roshan fight is pretty good. And then throw in like Quap ult. But Slark with double damage is some scary stuff. So I'm sure they're feeling it, that they're behind. And it's like, do we want to go in 4v5? You know, not really. Yeah, we saw Ember bottom, but he could be coming over. So it's like, by the time we get there, Ember could be there. I position up here to break smokes if they do come. But we see like one person show here, Illusion show top. So we know we're probably fine. So now we're going to speed forward a bit. How do we use this Roshan to win the game? 28-46. So now thinking about our opportunities, let's pull it up. We have the Roshan. Power Rune about to fade. Quap going to be alive again soon. But keeping in mind that, go to our game plan, my team is now stronger. And we need to start looking to close it out. So what are the conditions we can look for to actually end the game? Well, based off right now, if we looked at the game right here, it's not super clear. Like, we have double damage for a little bit longer, but it's probably going to fade by the time we find an opportunity. We see him bottom, so killing him could lead to something, but we're all top. Can we just push and chip the tower? A little bit, yes. Slark, not the best tower taker. Like, if you imagine double damage has faded, he has about 200 damage. It's okay, but Diffusal doesn't affect it, and Essence Shift doesn't affect towers. So he isn't great at taking towers until he has fought people, stolen more agility, and then it becomes possible to take towers just by sheer amount of agility he has. Now, of course, if he did have time to chip away at this, it would be okay, but it's just like, it's not as good as like some ranged heroes or people who have built like Deso, stuff like that. LC, not someone who hits towers. Ember, not someone who hits towers. So chipping away at them, like just considering our team, not the best. Enemy team, they have Firestorm, they have Disruptor, they have a Medusa. It's tough to just force the issue. So we need to look for a kill probably to set us up, and then maybe then we might have enough. So getting vision ahead of time, good start. Ember still bottom, but we're starting to meet up, and you see we're still playing as a group. We don't want to give them an opportunity. Like going back to like the game, the opportunities, when we are split up, that is when they have a chance because they are behind. But if we split up and they're able to say Disruptor ult, one of the cores, Fire Pit, Scream, all that, and kill someone, it gets hard for us to push, even though we have Aegis. Like, we don't want to use Aegis 4v5. We have to wait for that guy. And so that's how they can slowly get more time in this game, by just picking us off. They don't have the greatest pick-off heroes, but Disruptor is pretty good, especially considering that Ember has no defensive items. Pretty much went straight damage. And so if they get a Disruptor ult on the Ember, that could be really bad for him. Slark will have BKB, but like all of us, the rest of us will die if we get caught like that. Especially if they're all there. So sticking as a group is very important right now because we know we're in the lead, but we don't want to give that up for nothing. So we're staying together. And as I say that, we do split up here because Slark is the safest because he can BKB. So it's okay for him to go off on his own. And the rest of us are setting up a map control. Now, eventually, I'm going to be left down here. This is just something this is kind of what Treant just does. He doesn't have to be with the team the whole time because he can do this quite safely. And then they are looking for the kill on Troll Warlord right here. So if we wind up to see that, how that worked out, we saw Troll up top. Oh, where is he? We're pinging it. See, like, we're waiting. Like, if Troll shows again, we should go. And the second he shows, you see both of them, like, everyone's TPing up here to come fight this guy. Because if we can kill Troll, this is our opportunity. We still have Aegis. Troll is now dead. Quat might die here in a second. No, I don't think he does. I am keeping bottom pushed in. Legion's going to push in here. I should have probably headed top a little sooner. I didn't realize they were going to, like, go straight for this. I was trying to get bottom pushing a little bit more before going. So I'm a little late to this. And I realized that, and I was like, oh, I should be there already. And I started running, but I was a little slow. I should have started to head up as soon as, like, we get this kill. I should have thrown out one more Nature's Grasp on the creeps and then immediately started to heading up here. Because this is our time. Now he buys back. Now we want to get out. And back up a bit because we don't want to fight. We covered in the high ground video, like, this is not the ideal fight. But they are using some cooldown. So they just used Medusa ult and Disruptor ult. But we still don't want to fight under tower. So we're going to come out. Now, fortunately, I get here just in time. So it's totally intentional, of course. But I ult them. I was sort of trying to save Venge, but also, you know, just going for it. 4-man meme hammer. That was just kind of lucky, honestly. It feels a bit cheap because I think we were going to win that fight even if I didn't hit that, but that made that fight way easier. We still have Aegis, and so we kind of combined all these opportunities. We combined the Aegis and waited for another opportunity. We got our pick off. That signaled the push. We came to push. He was able to play really aggressive because he still had Aegis. They used 2 ults here. That's why I felt when I got here, I was like, okay, Medusa ult just ended. I can ult here, and it can serve as either... Because sometimes you can't communicate all of this with your team. And I was like, I ult here, and either we just get out, and that's fine. We will refresh and wait for him to... because that's another opportunity. Now that he's bought back, if we kill him again, he can't come back. So I would have been okay getting out of this fight, trading, you know, Venge for a buyback. And then we just wait for another opportunity to kill Troll. Or I thought, okay, if they run out too far and I overgrowth and I can Meteor Hammer, maybe we can turn the fight. And that's what my team went for. And now, look, we have 4 alive, 3 cores. In fact, only our position 5 died. And he's savage. He's still killing the poor position 5 right now. And this is going to open the game for us to win. All started based off getting a pick off here. And then, fortunately, getting double damage. Like, that was a bit lucky. Without the double damage, I'm not sure if we would have done Roshan. But I think that just goes to show, like, you have to find these... I guess you don't have to. Like, eventually, you'll just win or lose if you don't look for opportunities. Like, things will just happen randomly, and you won't fully understand why. But when you're actively looking for them, like, Ember gets a pick off, and we see a double damage room. So we know, okay, we can do Roshan. Like, this is an opportunity. And we play together, keep the map pushed in, look, waiting. You didn't see us, like, rush straight down, because we knew we couldn't do that. We needed a pick off. So we're just waiting. We see another opportunity. Troll, alone. Like, okay, if he shows up here again, because we just saw him here. If he shows up again here, we go. We see him, we go. I missed that. I should have immediately run top after that, or teleported here. But I think in the meantime, me pushing this lane was the right idea to try to keep the lanes pushed in so that when we do win a fight, we can go. That was my That was my mindset. And as soon as I realized my mistake, like, oh, this is like our time, I should be here, I sprinted up here. We win the fight. Yes, there's no guarantee that everything else leads to us winning this fight. Part of this was also luck. But again, sometimes it's like, we kind of made that luck happen by doing everything else and setting up this fight. If we lose this fight, it's a little rough because they're a late game lineup. But we win, and we were okay pushing this because we still had the advantage. Like, we know it was a little rough, but looking at our opportunities, like, yeah, they had the high ground advantage, but they used Medusa ult. They used Disruptor ult. That guy bought back, so if we killed him again, for sure we can win here. We have the Roshan items. I don't think we had a power rune on this fight. Vision, I can't even remember if we still had this ward. But, yeah. I hope that shows how all of that came together. And that's it. We're done. You did it. You're a better hard support player now, I hope, if I was any good at teaching. Thank you, all of you, who watched this entire series, watched any part of the series, left a comment, subscribed, all of that stuff. I appreciate it a lot. It was very motivating, very encouraging. In the future, and by the future I mean the next couple videos, maybe several, we'll do some replay analysis stuff. So if you're interested in that, leave a comment, match ID, what hero you were playing, any questions you had. Because I know the examples we covered in this can be, like, they demonstrate what I'm talking about, or I hope they do. But because they're cut out of the game, they can lose some context, and it can be a little confusing how we got to that point. So I think one of the best ways to improve, like, putting all this together, is to just see an entire game play out, talk about it. So yeah, if you're interested in that, leave a comment. Other videos we'll make, I haven't fully decided yet. So if there's stuff you're interested in seeing, also leave a comment, let me know. Give me some ideas. But with that, we're done. Good luck out there. I hope that, I don't know, I want hard support to be a fun role, a rewarding role, something that people like and appreciate. And so I hope this video series, this guide, helped with that. Let me know if it didn't, because I want you guys to win. I want you guys to climb up, because I'll let you in on a secret. The whole reason I made this guide was because I want to play position 4. But I have so many bad position 5 players. And I was a position 5 player before, but I want to play position 4 now. I have so many bad position 5, so I had to go back to position 5, make a bunch of guides on it, teach people how to do it. I need you guys to climb up here. I need you to be good. Anything you guys have trouble with, let me know. I'll help you as much as I can. I'm a fraud. I don't want to play position 5 anymore. Actually, at this point, I do enjoy it, to be honest. I think when you put a lot of time in something, you develop a passion, you kind of like it. So that's where I'm at. But I still want to play position 4 sometimes with good position 5 players. So please, let me know. I will help you get up to here. You can be my position 5, and I can finally play position 4. But yeah, that's it. Good luck out there.